All right, live with only one viewer that I'm aware of, and that one viewer is probably
It's my
Seth,
mom.
He's down there in the bottom. So
It's my mom
Justin.
supporting us.
I'm Justin.
Metadubs.
Hey, what's up? I'm Seth.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. So, we're just a little lost without Sunday Walking Dead episodes to podcast about. So we've been, for the last few Sundays, doing like looking back on the Walking Dead, and something that a lot of our listeners have been wanting to be brought back was Walking Dead What Ifs. In fact, we can't escape them. Even if we're reviewing an episode or doing like a looking back on type thing, we always get Walking Dead What Ifs in the comments section. So we were like, hey, let's just do a live Walking Dead What If to fill some time. Yes, Derek, I sound awful. This is why you have not been getting much podcasting this week, because I have influenza type B.
He's got the itis.
I have a constant dehydrated headache. I'm confused and irritable. I have no voice, and I feel like dog crap. But nonetheless, the show must go on. So, fellas, how are y'all doing tonight?
Can't complain.
I'm doing pretty good.
My fingers are cold. I've been wearing my little fingies mittens inside.
You're cold inside?
Well, just my fingers have been cold lately, and it's been achy. So, maybe some gloves will warm
You
these
need to
little
let
bad
me
boys
come
up.
over there and sell you a new heat pump. I sell heat pump and heat pump accessories.
Hank Hill would be proud.
Oh, so we need the listeners on this. Liquor Beaver, can you confirm, though, that it's not my mic that sounds terrible? It is just my voice, right? Like, you don't mean you sound terrible as in I need to adjust my mic quality.
It's your soundboard. You better give it to Seth and
I don't think your sound quality can fix that.
Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. So from the listeners, we need some Walking Dead what ifs in the comments section. Light them up. Give us any kind of what if scenarios you have.
I'll start.
Oh, you've got one. Okay.
Yeah, I'll start one while we're kind of getting warmed up. So, what if, like, just theoretically, like, Pope ends up like killing the gang, like he ends up taking them all out, and like he is now the de facto supreme leader of the wasteland. Like, how would that play out? I didn't think I'd get this far.
I never imagined I'd actually go somewhere with this. I don't think he would last long. He would kill everybody for having scratches on their back.
He eventually just snuff himself out.
Foxy in the Puppet Show says mic quality. Are you sure it's mic quality and not just the flu wrecking my voice? Liquor Beaver says voice. So
I say it's voice.
If Pope was was there, everybody would be in perfect V formation.
It'd be the tightest V. Like he could die in peace finally.
Yeah, the V quality would be
Giant
amazing.
V would just wipe out the entire universe as we know it, just from its perfect symmetry.
Yeah,
and badass jacketry.
We actually got our first one here from Michael Myers. Matt, following on what you had asked, what if Pope was in charge of the Saviors? I don't think that they would have gotten very far.
Once again, it'd be self-cannibalizing. It would fall apart eventually.
Well,
shoot, guys, I didn't think I'd get this far.
I don't think Pope had the charisma and leadership skills that Negan had. I don't think Pope could have.
He had some stability issues.
I don't feel like Pope could have brought everyone together the way Negan did. So I don't know that they would have ever had a chance at defeating Rick. I mean, keep in mind that the Reapers got like a small portion of our group, but Negan was going at them with the Saviors when it was the full group. And I just don't think Pope would have been ready for that level of smoke if Rick Grimes was in charge of going to war against him.
Were the Reapers featured in the comic? Or is that something AMC ran with?
That's just something they needed to come up with to get Maggie back in and to just basically fill time. They make no sense.
We were just happy that Pope was there, and he was having fun. I mean, he wasn't doing much, but he had a good time.
You're just happy that Pope was there.
I was happy for him.
Not y'all. There's no y'all in this. It's just you. Pope's biggest fan.
I think by transitive properties, you guys enjoy it since I have so much fun. It's like, oh, Matt's having a good time. I'm happy for that fella.
I don't think that's how it works. But from JScar14, what if Shane didn't open up the barn full of walkers? Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. What if Shane would have controlled his anger and they might not have ever known Sophia was in the barn?
Before you answer that question, do you know that these gloves I'm wearing also have like little hoods you can put over your fingies? Double as mitten power.
Yes, I hunt with some that are very similar to that.
Not like these ones. They actually have fingerprint touchers too, so you can play on your phone at the same
Well,
time.
I typically don't play on my phone when I go hunting, so yeah, that's probably they probably don't have that feature, but I'm glad. Anyways, back to Walking Dead. What if
I'm just proud of my
no one
gloves.
gives
I love
a
them.
damn about your mittens?
I love them. They're great.
People over here people over here expecting Walking Dead content. Matt's like, look at my gloves, and the listeners are just like, what the fuck?
See, there's the irritability.
Oh, I feel bad for anybody that's been around me all week. I have been irritable as shit all week. But I'm also real foggy and confused all the time too. I can't explain it. It's kind of like an outer body experience for the last week. The last week and 2 days. But anyways, so what do y'all think would have happened if Shane wouldn't have busted open that barn? I mean, where would they? Because that's kind of just where Shane was done after that. So I mean, do you think that maybe because that didn't happen, I think that Rick would still be looking for Sophia.
When they're still looking to this very day.
Rick and Shane would be alive, and it'd be season 11 with them going, Rick, it's been 11 seasons. I don't think we're gonna find this little girl. Rick's like, we gotta keep looking.
Until we see her body, we just don't know.
Right. But see, here's the thing. Shane was told the barn was full of walkers. So everybody Glenn found it out, and he told the group. So even if Shane didn't open it up, somebody else would have opened it up.
So you think, regardless, somebody was opening that barn.
All roads would lead to the same conclusion.
It'd be interesting, though, for the sake of what ifs, of like who would have, if it wasn't Shane, who would have opened the barn up?
I don't think Rick. I don't think anybody would have opened it up. I think Rick would have snuck over and checked it out later that night.
Been like, oh crap, there's Sophia.
I need to go look. He would have taken the initiative and been like, I need to go over here and check this out, and at least check it and look and see what's going on. Then he probably would have had a head count of who was in there, checked out who it was, and he would have found Sophia there.
And then that would have been a very interesting dilemma to be in. Like, do I just tell Carol?
Yeah.
Swallow funny. I'm good. Check out these mittens.
Since Matt is Pope's only fan, we figured we'd show you that. And speaking of which, the Podcasting Dead is proud to sponsor Matt and Pope's OnlyFans.
Yes.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Oh, yeah. It's their first Christmas.
I had my big titties.
Does that picture look familiar, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, that was a nice honeymoon.
Matt, you look so happy. It brings my heart joy to see you look so happy.
It was the happiest I've ever been in my entire life.
But anyways, yeah, that is an interesting thing to consider, that, you know, the barn would have probably been. So I just wonder if Rick would have went straight to, I'm sure he would have went straight to Lori first about it and been like, Lori, what do I do? But, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I think if that barn would have never got open and they would have never found Sophia was there, they'd be where they ended up, but they'd still be looking for Sophia. Shane would be like, Rick, she's got to be like 40 by now. We wouldn't even recognize her, Rick. So, yeah, that's a good question. Saviors would have ate Pope for lunch.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
What if Dale met present Rick? Would he be afraid of him? Yes.
Maybe a little more intimidated.
I don't think that present Rick would have been the kind of man that Dale would have. I mean, present Rick was not all that different from Shane. Shane was really, when you think about it, Shane was just really ahead of his time. Like, Shane adjusted quick and saw like what the world was and what you needed to be to survive. And just some people weren't ready to handle that, you know? And I think that, I think if Dale met present Rick, he wouldn't be too fond of him, to be honest. What do y'all think?
I think he'd be a little more intimidated and a little more off-put.
Seth, do you think they would have got along?
No, absolutely not. Dale would have probably felt defeated that he allowed Rick to be persuaded into being present day. Because I do think that Dale had a sense of the older man syndrome where he was very much, I can influence people and I can persuade to do the right thing because I'm an older, established person. And
very interesting.
I do think that Dale had persuasion on people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I definitely think Rick took his advice very seriously. Even if he didn't follow it, he always gave, Dale's thoughts some serious consideration.
Hey, Seth, you know that that meme from what was that show, 13 Reasons Why? Like that look. It was that like that smile or something that he gave me. Then it just showed the Dell face and back to her. You know what I'm talking about?
No,
it's the meme we posted on our YouTube.
That look.
He'd always be looking at me with that look he had that Rick was saying at Dale's funeral, and then Dad just shows Dale's face, like giving her Dale face.
Let me look real quick because that sounds funny.
I'm going to send it to you here.
It's actually on our YouTube. If you go to our YouTube and go to community, you can see where we posted it.
I'm on it right now.
Have you already done that before, Justin?
Yeah, that was on our YouTube.
Was it really?
Yeah, like a month ago.
The one with the 13 Reasons Why thingy, or whatever that show was called.
I don't know about 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah, this one's just Rick. I found it. Let me pull it up here. I don't think I can get it any larger than it already is.
God, I've had to say that so many times in my life.
Here it is. He'd be looking back at me with that look he had.
But this is the format here.
Old Dale face. Moving on with some what ifs. Let's see here. We've got a really, really good question here. What if Dale didn't die from the walker?
He'd be the king of the wasteland.
At some point, him and Herschel would have been like, there's only room for one moral compass in this group. It would have been interesting, though, because in the comics, Dale was banging Andrea there for a while. Like, they were a full-on couple. So I guess we would have had Dale and Andrea get together at some point, because if they kept Dale alive, I'm sure they were planning to follow that comic arc. So you would have had Andrea and Dale boinking it out in the prison, which would have been interesting. Here's a question I have to you guys. So, they essentially, when I think his name was Jeffrey DeMont that played Dale, when he decided he no longer wanted to be on the show because of Frank Darabont's departure, they killed him off, and he had some last minute thoughts, but it was too late at that point. So the only reason Dale died when he did is because the actor didn't want to be on the show anymore. We know from the comics that Herschel really wasn't at all like his character in the show, especially once he got to the prison. Like, he was. So my question to y'all is, do you think that Herschel would have been morphed into the moral compass in the way that he was? Or do you think he would have still been kind of a crotchety old man and Dale would have remained the moral compass?
I think crotchety. I think Rick was a good pivot point for his character.
I would honestly think that there wouldn't be enough room for both of them, and that one of them would probably have gotten killed off.
You think, but they were both still there during the battle of the prison in the comics, like it was still Dale and Herschel were both in the comic, in the prison at the same time. And it's like,
that is true. I forgot about that. I haven't read it in a long time. I need to reread.
My thought, I think that honestly, Herschel, I don't know that he would have been like a bad, he certainly wouldn't have been a bad guy, but I think that Herschel would have remained a bit more crotchety and Dale would have remained, which Dale in the comics was a bit different from Dale in the show too. I mean, Dale in the comics was kind of, I'm not going to say macho, but more of a grizzled old man versus, the soft sweetheart we got in the show. But I think that if if we didn't have Dale die when he did in the show, he would have went on to the prison, but would have remained the moral compass, and Herschel would have had more of a backseat role compared to him. But I'm kind of glad they did it. I like Jeffrey DeMont as Dale, and I was devastated when he died, but I really love Herschel as the moral compass. I think he was honestly probably a better moral compass than Dale was, to be honest with you. Let's see here. What if Maggie
Hey Seth,
and
what's your
Negan become a
username
couple?
on Rumble?
I'm sorry?
What's your username on Rumble? It's asking for a referrer.
The men's room. Let me
all one word.
Let me find out for sure.
Yeah, tell me what your username is on Rumble, so I can put you as a referral. Score
Yeah, the men's room, all one word, no apostrophe. Thank you.
Got it. You will now get a brownie point from the team at Rumble.
Yay! Cool. Everybody should go check out Rumble.
We good? Anything else, Matt?
Did I show you guys the cool mitten features that my things can convert to?
Yeah, I think we saw that one.
Oh, I got nothing else then.
All right, back to what ifs.
That's what the private chat's for.
No shit, Matt. Send a text message. Send a message, something. Anyways, back to Walking Dead. What ifs? I think you forget how quickly people will leave if they click on a live stream, and what they're anticipating is not happening.
Our fans are loyal. They would never leave.
Yeah, that's why that keeps jumping up to somewhere between like 15 and 20 and then back down to 10 like that.
As Pope is my witness. Back on topic.
So what if Maggie and Negan become a couple? I think they keep wanting us to think that's going to happen, but do y'all think it's going to happen? Like, I don't think they would ever cross that line. I think that would just be, I just don't think they'll ever go that route.
I think their last interaction, pretty much kind of put the kibosh on that.
I hope so. And it looks like from the scenes I've seen and from the behind the scenes stuff they've been leaking of Dead City, it looks like they still don't entirely trust each other, especially with the images of Maggie with a knife to Negan's throat and stuff. So I don't know that. I really don't think. But if they did become a couple, I think that everyone around them would be weirded out. Like, you're banging the guy that bashed your husband's brains in. Like, how you explain that one to your son? I want you to meet your new stepdaddy. It's the guy that killed your real daddy.
Right? Like, how ridiculous would that be for the show, especially?
And I mean, Herschel Jr. pointed a gun at him and tried to kill him. So, he'd be like, Mom, WTF.
Well, the only person that would be happy would be JP. Yeah, JP would absolutely love it.
Oh, I'm sure JP would be just ecstatic to hear. He's still probably, if you asked him, would tell you it's going to happen.
Speaking of JP, please check out the Patreon to hear from JP.
Yeah, we just published one a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I got about halfway through it.
Oh, yay. I'll have something good to listen to at work tomorrow.
Hell yeah. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
Hit the link tree.
What if, where is it at? Boom.
Yeah.
There you go.
That one link will take you anywhere you want to go, anything involving Justin.
Boom. Yes.
I got the keys to his house if you even want more, Justin.
I will one day be murdered by someone online that hates me because like Matt told him like where I lived. Here's his spare key.
For the right super chat price, Matt will probably blab.
I was just trying to be helpful.
Matt reminds me of like Tom Holland. You know how he could never keep like any of the Marvel secrets? Like I feel like that would 100% be Matt if Matt was in a position with like spoilers and stuff. So here's a little sidebar. So I've earned a sidebar. Matt, we do Secret Santa in our group every year, right? Our little friends group. We just did it this past Saturday, but it's pointless when everybody tells everybody who everybody has, including Matt. The guy that Matt had knew Matt had him long before Secret Santa. It's like, Matt, you can't tell people that you're their Secret Santa. That defeats the point. At that point, it's just skinny Santa. I mean, it's, but anyways, let's get you back.
Santa's out the bag.
All right. So what if Merle were never left at the rooftop? So Michael Myers, let's elaborate a little bit more into this question. Are we saying like they actually got him unhandcuffed and he went back with them? Because
guys, I'm a changed man. I will never be racist again.
I don't think it happens that fast.
Did anybody up there have a gun?
Yeah, Andrea had a gun. Rick had a gun. There's a couple of people with a gun.
So why didn't they just shoot the link?
Well, T-Dog went back, so everything was happening all fast, and T-Dog had the key, so I guess they didn't think they had to. T-Dog didn't have a gun, not that I'm aware of. Maybe he did, but I know, he was. I like to think he didn't have a gun, and that's why, because he went back to unlock it, because they all were just like, "Peace out, Merle." Like they weren't even worried about it, and T-Dog was the one that was like, "I got the key" or whatever, because Rick gave him the key. And then he went back to let him loose, and the key went down the drain and all that. And so I don't think, I like to think T-Dog didn't have a gun, because if he did, I've never thought of that. And that would be a really dumb point. Like, dude.
Exactly. I understand saving ammunition, but daggone, dude, every person is a resource. That's one thing I understand about Negan is, that's people are resources. So Merle could have brought something to the table, regardless of if you liked him or not.
I found a really great channel I want to shout out real quick that if, for all the Walking Dead fans out there, you should 100%. This guy's content is put together way better than ours. It's a much better channel than the one you're watching right now, but you should certainly go check out his videos, because he does a lot of really good stuff. In fact, he just did I was just watching one of his where he was talking about how, when you really truly think about like them storming the satellite outpost and everything like that, like in Negan's mind, think about this group of people that sneaks into one of your homes and murders everybody there in their sleep, and you catch them and you're only going to kill one of their people. Like, truly, you're not being a bad guy in that situation. You're actually being pretty merciful. And it just was a really, really good video. He's got a whole, oh, come on. I can't find my dang history. Oh, it's the Thrifty Typewriter. That's the channel, the Thrifty Typewriter. If you're a Walking Dead fan, go check out his videos. They are awesome. Really, really good content. I've very much been enjoying that. He does some really deep dives into these episodes, and like talks about the point in which Rick and them changed. Just a lot of really good stuff I wish I had time to sit down and script out. But yeah, I think if Merle would have left the roof with them and went back, I don't know, because like, let's think about the ripple effect here for a second. They would have never went back to Atlanta. They would have been there, but without the guns, right? So Rick lost the guns. Did Rick you always got to think of cause and effect. Did Rick lose the guns because of the Merle situation?
I don't think so.
Like, that was just on their way out, right? Like
Yeah.
No, Rick lost the guns because of the
whole horse, tank thing, right?
Yeah, the horse bucked him, and then he fell off the horse and it rolled underneath the tank, got up in the tank, and that's when he met Glenn.
So you got to think like Merle would have been with them. So they went back to Atlanta. So, but the thing is, they didn't go back for those guns until they went back to Atlanta, though, right? So like Rick lost the guns. So they would have never went back for the guns, which then would have been a good point to Shane and Rick's argument, because Shane was like, I think you should have been here. If you would have been here, we wouldn't have lost so many people. And Rick's like, well, if I wouldn't have brought back all those guns, I think we would have lost even more people. So then you really are at that argument, because they never would have went back to Atlanta in the first place, which means they wouldn't have gotten that bag of guns. They wouldn't have met Spanish Ludacris, and they would have, just been at the camp, which they would have had more people to defend it. They just wouldn't have had as many guns.
I think they would have gone back for the guns, though. Even if Merle wasn't still there, they would have still had to go back for the guns.
But then it's interesting, because if they would have went back, you probably wouldn't have had Daryl join them, because Daryl was kind of a douchebag at that point. And the only reason Daryl went to Atlanta was to save his brother. So you would have probably had like Rick and Glenn, really would have probably been about it.
Well, as a redneck, I can tell you this. If you tell me there's a whole big old bunch of guns somewhere, you've done piqued my attention. I don't care if I'm a butthole or not. I don't care about the group. I'm going for some guns.
I am not conflicted. Yeah, I don't know, a lot of cause and effect there. So, if they would have, if for some reason Merle and Daryl did go back with them, can you imagine Merle's racist ass meeting the Vatosts?
I think he would have shot him and then just took the guns.
I think that he would have shot them and gotten everybody shot up.
Yeah.
And then the series ended.
But it would be interesting to see how the group would have developed with Merle there. I think eventually they would have probably just kicked him out. But then at that point, you didn't have the Rick, Daryl, Glenn, Bond, and T-Dog. T-Dog went with them, bonding time. So, if I tell you this, not so we don't stay on this one all night. If Merle would have went back with them from the roof, I don't think Daryl would have ever evolved into what he evolved into. He needed to be away from his brother, with other people.
Do you think that he could have convinced Merle to change?
Well, at that point in time, Daryl didn't even want to change. So he would have had no motivation to tell Merle to change because he wasn't looking, at the point we met Daryl, he was just like a little version of Merle.
Right, but Rick and the major group could have got him to change.
Well, that's my point. They did get him to change, but because of Merle's absence. Without Merle's absence, I don't with Merle still being there, egging him on the whole time. I don't think that they would have ever gotten through to him the way that they did because of Merle being gone. You know what I mean? So I think, long story short, if Merle would have left that rooftop with them, I don't think that Daryl would have ever been the Daryl that we know and love. Let's see. Shout out to Louisiana McPatriot. Sorry, guys. I'm still coughing a lot.
It's all good, man.
All right. Henry Lamone. Matt, you should love that last name.
Lemoyne.
What if Simon won the fight and killed Negan in season 8, episode 15? Oh, man. They would have been scorched earth.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
First order of business would have just been entirety of the saviors. Simon would have been like, I thought I wanted war, but I never really thought I was going to get this far. Let's just take 10,
Yeah, let's just veg for a bit.
But I think that Simon would have 100% taken the saviors and just went full head on, straight war, scorched earth. It might have ended worse for the group, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. Because, he wasn't above killing, kids and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. He did not care about people being a resource or what. So, I think, honestly, maybe they could have won, but I think there's a good chance that the saviors might have come out on top if they had Simon just being because Negan eventually got to the point where he was going to kill them all. But at that point, it was kind of too late. Let's see. What if Rick never got shot? A lot of things would be different. You would never had a chance to have the Shane, Lori, Rick love triangle because they would have never been alone. Probably, I don't know if they would have ended up at the quarry. That really could have been a whole. I don't know. What do y'all think? What if Rick never got shot, Matt?
Yeah, what if Rick came into this game like not just waking up from his coma and then being in the midst of a zombie apocalypse? If he came in right as it was happening, how would he have acted different? Man, I don't know. I don't know enough about that to say how he would have started out on a level playing field.
Well, Rick's a natural born leader, so I think that
he'd eventually evolve into that role.
Yeah, I think that he would have definitely started out there. It just would be interesting to see where they would Rick have been one of the people that's we have to go to one of the FEMA camps, or would he have been the kind to go up in the quarry and camp out? Shane, what do you think?
Have a whole you have all your stuff ready to go for Armageddon when it happens. Does he have that at his home?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Shane, where do you? Shane, dang man, Seth, where do you think that Rick and the group would have ended up if Rick would have been there from the beginning?
I don't think they would have been in the city. I don't know. I think that there would have been a larger police presence, group, friends, because they're all friends anyway. Like Shane, all his buddies, all Rick's buddies in the force. I think they would have set up probably a camp at the local sheriff station.
Well, and that's a really good point that you bring that I didn't think about. Rick was a cop, so he would have been like working this stuff. So, I
Yeah.
mean, he wouldn't have necessarily been like apocalyptic. He would have been like out in town working. And you're right. He might have had Lori and Carl at the police station versus,
How long was it before that Rick met Morgan from the get-go?
Seth's going to argue this, but we found so many things that prove him wrong. Rick was in a coma for about a month.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
No way.
Seth, I have found it on multiple. Robert Kirkman himself said it was about a month. Robert Kirkman said from the time Rick gets shot till the time he wakes up, about a month has passed. So
they spent the other portion of 260 some days.
Well, Rick was in a coma for a month. It doesn't mean the apocalypse had been going on a full month. I mean, that could have broke out a week or two after he got shot, meaning he was alone in that hospital for a week or two. Or it could have been 3 weeks. It could have been the week that Rick woke up was the, final week of the apocalypse where everybody just abandoned ship. Rick could have been in that hospital for 3 weeks. And on the 4th week, that's when everything just went bleh. But Rick was in a coma for about a month.
That doesn't make any sense.
It don't matter. That's what it is. I mean,
but when they get to Jenner, they've had 260 some days.
Well, of course, because they're the CDC. They knew this stuff was popping off long before. And of course, it didn't just start overnight. It's not like everybody was sleeping and then just woke up and was like, oh, it's apocalypse day. Like everybody, it was happening like we see in Fear the Walking Dead, like little outbreaks here and there. And people were hearing about it, but not knowing what it was. And it wasn't until several weeks into it that everything just went full chaos. You had camps set up. You had, by the time Rick gets out of his coma, you see that there's, sandbags set up and shelters. And so, I mean, this has been happening. It just the levee didn't break, and
was the apocalypse before he had
now that's a good question. I don't know. They never mention it. So I'm assuming this stuff didn't start happening until after he was in a coma. But I know Rick was in a coma for right around a month, but how far into the apocalypse they were, I'm not 100% sure. But, because I'm sure he didn't sit in that hospital bed locked in that room for 2 weeks. He would have thirsted to death.
It was cleaning him up and making sure he was.
When you think about it, when Shane unplugged everything, tried to get him out and then blocked the door, realistically, it couldn't have been no more than like a day or two because Rick would have died of dehydration if he were sitting there in a coma, not hooked up to anything. I mean, you can't go, Matt, like 3 days without any water and you're dead?
Yeah, it's a pretty short period of time without fluids.
So, so they probably were up in the rock quarry for a short period of time. But, so about a month from Rick's coma to where he met, Morgan, which actually, what if Rick never met Morgan is one of the questions I see down here in the comments. Seth, I don't know why your video feed keeps locking up.
I don't either. It's weird. I think my camera's on its way out. Because that's what I was having issues with prior to starting the stream.
That OnlyFans on time really wears those cameras out.
Well, I mean, I do stream quite a bit during the week, so.
Check out the men's room OnlyFans. It's Seth and Tommy
not together.
Reenacting our favorite scenes from the Barn of Pleasures. Tommy gets to be Seth dresses up in King Ezekiel cosplay, and he's got Tommy as Shiva.
Well, I appreciate you at least putting me as the king.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't have you as Jerry. Roar, dude.
Thanks,
if you don't know the extent of that, go listen to our old podcast. It's pretty. Shiva's a pretty degrading place to be. I love you, Tommy.
Speaking of King Ezekiel, I'm pretty upset that I'm gonna not be able to visit my local Comic-Con in February because Kari Payton's gonna be at the Comic-Con, Big Lit Comic-Con.
I would love to meet him. He seems so cool. If I was going, I would totally get him to record, the whole, hey, this is King Ezekiel and you're watching the Podcasting Dead. That would be so good.
Also, at the end of it, I'd get him to talk about the Barn of Pleasure.
Be like, look, man, don't ask questions, but can you say, welcome to the Barn of Pleasures?
Just say these words. Don't ask why.
Yeah.
Go over to Jerry's booth and be like, can you just record one line for me? Can you say roar, dude?
Roar, dude.
What if the governor found Terminus or Alexandria with his tank? Man, we know what he would have done. He'd have steamrolled that bad boy. Which Terminus was pretty well organized. I think Terminus would have gave the Woodbury crowd a bit of a run for their money as far as fighting.
But I would have been okay if he had leveled Terminus.
Yeah. I felt like they wanted us to kind of feel bad for Gareth and them after all they had been through, but like I didn't.
No.
I was just like,
no,
dog. What if Morgan joined Rick's group during the governor arc? That would have been interesting. So I guess Michael's saying like when they found him and brought him, like found him in season 3, I'm guessing, and brought him back versus, because we wouldn't have never got Crazy Morgan if his son didn't die. So I like to think if Rick would have talked him into coming back to the prison after they found him all crazy in that town, I think that the governor would have had a little bit more of a run for his money. You'd have had Morgan out there just cutting people up. But what do y'all think? How do you think Morgan would have affected the prison war?
Yeah, I think similar outcome. Beat him with a
I would bet that he would persuade Rick to be more civil.
You think?
Well,
so?
I don't know.
Not
well,
season
you got.
3
I got to
Morgan.
hang on. I got to take it back to season 3 Morgan. That's right. Season 3 Morgan would have been like, "Oh, F the governor.
All
Kill
I
him.
see is red.
Kill all of them.
I clear." I think that Morgan and Michonne would have teamed up, went to Woodbury, and just killed everybody, like unexpected. They would have just been a force. Matt, this one is especially for you.
Donate at least a $2 minimum and find out.
That's right. We hadn't had a super chat in a while, guys. Matt, why is Pope?
Oh God, you're so good.
I don't know. I guess I can just relate to the guy.
I think Matt just likes how much everybody hates Pope, and he has a soft spot for him, so he just tries to root for the underdog, even though like no one else supports it.
He was so pointless. He was so pointless.
Oh, let's see.
And he liked firecrackers. Those are the two things I relate to most.
From Louisiana McPatriot, what do you think Herschel Sr. would say to Pamela, given her tyrannical governing style, or would he just shack up with her in the barn and chill her out?
I bet he'd tap that.
I think that Herschel would have been disgusted at what was going on in the Commonwealth. I don't think Herschel would have been too fond of that at all.
That's his one shame kink.
I like tyranny. Tyranny is my kink.
I can't get hard without tyranny.
I don't know, being she was Governor Pam Milton, he'd have been like, I don't know, the last governor we faced off with took my head off, so.
I kind of have a distaste for governors.
I don't think that the Herschel would have been okay with it at all, and I think that Herschel would have straight up told him, like, this is absolute tyranny, and I don't support it. What if the governor, I don't know if we should put that word on YouTube. So what he's asking is,
grape?
What if the governor did the things to Maggie that he did to Michonne in the comics? So if you are unfamiliar with the comics, that scene where the governor has Glenn and Maggie and he makes her take off her shirt and makes her think he's going to do something, but he doesn't. Like, that is super mild compared to the comics. Like, super mild. In the comics, it was not Glenn and Maggie. It was Michonne. And let's just say the governor tied her up for a while and did lots of unspeakable things to her repeatedly over and over again.
Would Maggie let that happen?
I mean, in the situation, I mean, you got to think in the comics, it was Michonne who's way more of a fighter than Maggie is, and it happened to Michonne. So I don't think that Maggie would have been able to do much. But I think Glenn would have probably gotten himself killed if that would have happened. I think that, Glenn wanted to go back, even was ready to go by himself over him making Maggie think that he was going to do that to her. If he really would have done that to her, I don't think that Glenn would have been able to not just go reckless into Woodbury and would have got himself killed. Honestly. What do y'all think?
I bet he'd be pissed off. I don't know if he'd go on a tirade for revenge.
Did we watch the same Walking Dead? If it wasn't for Herschel, Glenn was ready to go. Like, Glenn was gonna go even on his own. If it wasn't for Herschel, he would have, Herschel stopped him. Now imagine that situation where he actually did do that to Maggie. You know what I mean? Like, I think Glenn would have went off his rocker, man.
Well, I think if he had actually done it to Maggie, I think Herschel and the group would have been on board with some kind of an attack. Some kind of...
Absolutely. Hold on. My dog is under my computer desk. Come here, Charlie. Get out. You can't get under there, bud. Too much expensive equipment. I know it's comfortable. Too much. But no, I think that Glenn would have lost his marbles. I mean, then imagine being in that prison at that point would have been crazy because you had Rick losing his mind during all of this. And now you got Glenn losing his mind. Oh, Seth, how do you feel?
About Glenn?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He would have went after him.
What if Rick's group found the Saviors before he did Alexandria?
He would have been Negan.
Oh, yeah. You think? Oh, so you think that? Wait. So are they asking what if Rick's group found the Saviors before they got to Alexandria?
Yeah.
And you're saying that Rick and them would have joined the Saviors, Seth?
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no way.
Why?
Ain't no way.
You don't think they would have portrayed themselves as good guys to get Rick's group involved and bring him in? They would have had no reason. Negan would have had no reason to be standoffish to Rick.
Typically in Negan fashion, even if you haven't wronged them, and I mean, this is from the comics, and I'm sure the show followed it too, but like, even if you hadn't wronged Negan, when they first find you, the first thing they do is kill one of your people. Like that's they do that out the gate, no matter what, because that is to show that they're serious, that they're not just making threats. Like, so if Rick, in order to join and be a part of the Saviors, somebody would have died regardless. So I don't feel like.
Then how would he have gotten anybody?
Well, you're talking about like to actually be Saviors? Because I think that most of the people there just fear Negan. I mean, Negan rules with fear and tight law. Like it's, very.
Yeah, but you remember there was an episode where somebody, and I don't remember what was going on, but somebody in the background was like, "Bless you, Negan." Like they loved him.
Yeah, there were some people there certainly drinking the Kool-Aid, but they were all terrified of him. I mean, in the same way that like dictators of the past have ruled countries and everybody was terrified of them, but when they saw him, they're like, "Oh, bless you, Stalin, bless you, Hitler." Even though
shame on you, you're going to YouTube jail for that one.
Well, I'm just referring to dictators of the past. I'm not glorifying. Dear God, I'm not Kanye
West.
West
Got kicked off of Twitter for that.
I know. No, disclaimer, not at all saying anything positive about the man. In fact, I'm using him as a negative comparison. But yeah, actually I had to battle YouTube this past week because they like demonetized one of our videos and said it went against guidelines. It was the season 4, episode 8 review. And I had to dispute it. And I just got an email tonight saying that after manually reviewing it, it meets all criteria for monetization. So they put it back. But I mean, that doesn't take away a week's. I mean, like pretty much all any monetization for the whole week is lost now. So it's like, well, thanks, YouTube. We're not big enough that video is going to keep growing. But no, I don't know that I could see Rick's group joining the Saviors unless, now what you were saying is a good point. If they didn't kill one of them and they were portraying as like, we're a good group of people, but I don't think it would have taken them but a day or two of learning that they have to kneel when Negan walks in the room, that they have to say, "I'm Negan." I don't see Rick's group staying in that. I could see Rick and them being like, dude, especially after dealing with people like the governor and the Terminus people, they know a evil ruler when they see one. And I think that the second that Negan walked in and everybody kneeled and Negan was like, "Who are you?" and wanted Rick to be like, "I'm Negan," they'd have been like, "No, we're getting out of here, guys."
Yeah.
This dude's crazy. I think that if Rick's group found the Saviors before they found Alexandria and just tried to battle them then, they'd have all died. Like they were not equipped then.
Understanding, yeah.
Because when they found Alexandria, they'd been living on the road. They were tired and hungry and cold and malnourished and just on edge. I mean, they definitely would have taken out a few, but I feel like the Saviors would have crushed them. Let's see. Remember when Dale got pissed about his tools left behind? So he said, I want one of those guns in the bag, one of my choosing, and said it with a Dale face. Oh, I hope Dale got his gun.
Tools are priceless.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the apocalypse.
Absolutely. Let's see. Let's see. Justin, do me a favor. Say Negan's line. This is the kind of things that just tickles my balls in the high-pitched voice. All right.
This is the kind of thing that just tickles my balls.
There you go.
That's getting clipped.
Now do it in the demon voice.
This is the kind of thing that just tickles my balls.
That sounds awesome.
It's like, hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. I've got a cough.
Dude, you need to get that checked.
Need to quit smoking. Oh, let's see here. So what other what ifs do we got as we move along? What if the governor chose to accept Rick's truce and live with them at the prison? I've often thought this very same thing myself, and it is a really good question. Fellas, what do you think? I mean, we know in reality the governor would have never just lived with them.
Yeah.
But let's suspend disbelief here for a second and say that for some reason, like maybe something happened and Lily and her daughter came running up and were like, don't fight, please. And Negan just was like, you know what? I'll take you up on that if it keeps her safe. How do y'all think that would have happened?
And then they lived happily ever after.
I think it could have worked for a while, like a short while, just to kind of get everybody back on their feet, and then it would have been slow backbiting and some just undercutting people and undercutting the authority.
I honestly think what would have happened. I think Michonne would have snuck into his cell one night and killed him. Like like at this point, he's already done all of the things he's done in the past. He got access to live in the prison in this scenario. He still would have had Michonne and Herschel on their knees, tied up and stuff. I think that she would have just snuck into his cell and killed him. I don't think it would have worked no longer than it would have taken Michonne to get in his cell and kill him while he was sleeping.
Maybe a brief moment of peace, but someone would sneak in there and beat him.
And I feel like as soon as he got in, he'd be plotting on taking over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It would have already been in his head. Jay Scarf says it's crazy how zombie wasn't said once in The Walking Dead. That was by design, actually. They were going to go that route in the comics, and then if you pay attention, they do say zombie in the comics because Robert Kirkman just simply forgot. But in the Walking Dead world, zombie culture was never a thing. Like there weren't zombie movies. There wasn't Night of the Living Dead. Like zombie culture did not exist in the world of The Walking Dead, which is why they didn't know to call them zombies and came up with things like walkers and fighters and lame brains and all these other nicknames that came up with. So that was actually by design.
So in The Walking Dead, did that song Zombie not exist?
By the Cranberries?
No, yeah, Cranberries.
Yeah.
It was something else. It was
They
like
were the
monster. Did Rob Zombie not exist?
Yeah. I don't know. For Michael Myers, that might have been a good idea if he didn't exist.
That's true.
For Halloween.
I actually didn't mind the first I didn't mind the first Rob Zombie Michael Myers remake. It was the second one that completely lost me. Let's see. If you could meet any actor or actress from The Walking Dead, who would it be? Fellas, I'll let you go first. Matt, you get to meet anyone from the cast. Who are you picking and why?
Either Rick just for badassedness, or I've always liked Jesus' character. I bet he'd be a cool dude in real life.
He seems like a nice guy in real life.
Yeah.
Seth, who would you pick?
I'd like to meet John Bernthal.
Yeah, he seems awesome.
He'd be cool.
He seems really cool.
I mean, I did have dinner with that butthole savior, and he was pretty sweet.
It's so funny how in shows the douchebags are usually the nicest ones in real life. Like poor Joffrey from Game of Thrones. If I had to pick, mine would probably be no kidding. I mean, Andrew Lincoln is kind of like a given. Who doesn't want to be? I almost feel like you have to take Rick or Andrew Lincoln out of anything because that's most people's go-to. But if I had to pick somebody else,
actress, second string.
It would like if I could interview them on the podcast based on, my career of interviewing celebrities for the radio station and knowing how bad it sucks when you get one that's not fun. Or I like the people that the celebrities that don't take themselves seriously and they'll joke with you and they'll play stupid games. And I feel like for that, I would love to have Corey Payton on because I feel like he would just be a fun guy that would just joke around and not take himself serious. But just out of pure fandom, for me, probably Denai Guerrera, just because I love Michonne so very much that I would love to interview her. So probably Denai Guerrera for me, Tom Payne for Matt, and for Seth, it would be John Bernthal.
Well, if you want to drive 2.5 hours northwest, you can meet Corey Payton in February.
I'd love to.
February 12th and 11th and 12th, I think, in Roanoke.
I'll take my newborn son to meet him.
What if, Matt, this one is for you, so you can see on the big screen here. What if Pope realized how horrible he was being in a war with the group and decided to take inspiration from Dale, make peace with them, and start a relationship with Daryl?
That's kind of the resolution I was hoping for with this whole arc was this very thing to happen.
I love you, Pope.
I love you, Pope. I love you, Daryl.
I love you, dirty man.
But yeah, I just think like they would just like he would take his giant firecracker machine. They'd just have fun. Like they'd go out to fields and have like firecrackers every night. It'd be great. It'd be romantic. They would kiss under the moonlight.
This is so fun, Pope.
They'd finish the night with a Titus V, if you know what I mean.
So romantical.
Yeah.
But in an ideal world, that's actually part of the like the screenplay I'm working on with Pope.
Yep. And this is a good point. It is kind of weird. It is kind of weird that Merle became the governor's right-hand man and they liked each other because Merle was lower-class redneck and the governor was upper-class, middle-class suburban guy. I think, though, he would I don't think Merle would have got along with him or respected him in the real world. But post-apocalyptic, man, the governor was just straight up a savage.
I feel like that comment was throwing a little shade at some rednecks. And I'll tell you one thing. I'm a redneck, and you will want to hang out with one of us during the apocalypse.
I mean, even though Seth's married to his sister, you'd be able to get past that to survive the apocalypse.
If he wants kissing my sister, it's going to be me.
Right there, Joe Dirt.
No,
I mean, like
his sister. Full disclaimer.
Yeah,
she's his cousin.
Yeah, it's like a second cousin.
we know a lot, all right. And when you need to survive on the land, who's better than a redneck?
I've already said.
I mean,
look, if you don't have Wi-Fi or heated water, like just kill me.
I mean, I may not, it may not be the most believable thing in the world, but I am part redneck myself, so I'm at least half redneck.
Aspect, yeah.
And we know.
And we know.
I could probably do it, but I would complain a lot.
And we would just like gag you or something.
Yeah.
Seth, you should like this comment. Off topic, but Seth's background looks so cool, doesn't it?
It's pretty dope. He's put some work into it.
It's really come a long ways. I remember when there was like nothing back there.
Yeah.
I made some good leeway getting stuff moved around in my little den. I just got to get some decorations up now.
Go, Power Rangers.
Stuff, yep. I like Power Rangers.
Hey! Which Ranger is that? Is he the Red Ranger?
Oh, dude, red or green or white. I don't know.
Let's see. Henry Lemoyne. Oh, how would you say that, Matt? I say Lemoyne.
Henry Lemoyne.
I like Lemon.
Like the Lemoyne Raiders on Red Dead Redemption 2.
But he says, I think Simon was more like Stalin. Stalin had no problem committing genocide and wiping out tons of people.
Stalin certainly had no issues with that.
Yep. What if Mercer and Beta went head to head? I think Mercer would have a good chance against Beta.
It'd be a toe-to-toe.
I think, to be honest with you, I'm going to go with Mercer on this one just because Beta he's a beast and he's fighting people, like I think the difference is like Mercer is a big dude, but he's also very highly trained. Whereas, Beta's just brute strength with no training, no discipline.
Does Beta ever show fear though?
No, not ever.
Although we're talking about the TV show Beta. Had it been the comic book Beta where he was was it a pro basketball player?
Yeah, he was a pro athlete.
Then Mercer would definitely have a run for his money.
Oh, 100%. And he was bigger in the comics. Like in the show, he was big, but he wasn't. Like in the comics, he was ridiculously tall. Like Negan towered over Rick and everybody else. And Beta towered over Negan, who towered over everybody else. So, comic Negan's comic Beta is a whole nother animal. Absolutely.
The Jolly Green Giant is not jolly nor green. In fact, quite the opposite of those adjectives.
Ooh, what if Lori would have had a miscarriage?
That'd have been a bummer.
Yeah, and
would Lori still be around?
I imagine so. Yeah, if she never got to the point of trying to give birth, if they would have cut her open and the baby would have been dead, then that would have just been absolutely horrible. I think Rick would have went even crazier, but sorry for the coughing, folks.
Hey, share my screen real quick.
Yeah, look right there at how much bigger comic Beta is than Negan. And if you can, Seth, I'll take it away. But when you get a second, try to see if you can find a picture of Negan and Rick head to head to show that Negan was taller than Rick. So you see how big Beta was in the comics. And he towered over Negan. And Negan was a big boy himself. He didn't quite tower over Rick the way Beta towers over him, but still, Negan was a big, tall dude. Let's see. Wade Watson. What if Dwight never left? Would Daryl have accepted him? Short answer, yes.
Would have kissed.
Now kiss me, you.
Now kiss me, you fool. Pocket sand.
She's a shot.
All right, let's see here. Oh, Dragos in the comments section. What if the governor kills Mission instead? It plays out the same, but Herschel is the first to get his throat slit at Terminus. Oh, what if the governor would have killed Michonne instead? Everything else played out the same, but Herschel is the first to get his throat slit at Terminus. We would all die on the inside. And it really, I want to say Rick would have went savage, but Rick did go savage. He just kind of had to, find his moment. But I think you'd have had a lot of the Walking Dead fandom just absolutely mad. Yeah. So, look how big. How much bigger, how much taller Negan stands than Rick. It's got several inches on him, and Beta towers over Negan. So,
yeah.
Beta in the comics, he was a big, big boy. Big boy.
Right. Hey, put that back up just a second again. Now, see right here, this is Negan, that's Rick. All right. If you remember from the picture I just showed you, Negan's head is right at Beta's bust line.
Yep.
So he would have even been right in there.
Oh yeah.
Motorboated him.
Which he was a pro basketball player in the comic. So it makes sense that he'd be, abnormally tall. If you're 6'2" in the NBA, you're short.
Yeah.
You look teeny. So hell, I got a friend of ours that's 6'8". And, they would have been taller. A lot of NBA players are much taller than him. So it's, yeah.
He's the short one on the team.
let's see. If Daryl was able to become allies with Negan and be semi-cool with him, then he definitely would have been able to accept Dwight. Yep. I think Dwight would have been accepted. I don't know about Matt's position on their smooching. That would be yet to be determined, but I certainly think he would have forgiven him.
It's in my fan script I'm working on. A lot of homoerotic scenes in my script.
Yep. But hey, we accept it. We accept it. And so do the listeners.
Fun. Yeah.
All right, so I think we got time for one more before we wrap it up here. And if you guys like this, then we will certainly try to do it again here soon. Just something filling the time. I think we're all just waiting on the spinoffs to where we can get back to actually reviewing episodes. And I'm pretty stoked because old Maddie there might be getting some podcasting equipment for Christmas.
Woo!
So going to have some really good quality
Christmas
stuff.
to me.
Seth is buying my old Rodecaster Pro, so he's
That's
about to
me
start
already.
sounding a whole lot better. Matt's going to start sounding a whole lot better. Not that you guys don't sound good now, but you're going to sound even better. Seth's going to have some processing behind his voice, which is going to be nice. And Matt's going to have something other than AirPods, which is definitely going to be nice.
I'm the upgrade.
Definitely check us out on Facebook. Let's see.
We have a fan group. It's a lot of fun, and it could be a lot more fun if you, the listener, would come hang out with us.
Yes.
That's it, Seth. You
Click that
persuaded me.
link.
I'm coming.
I love the passion. Do it again.
Just do it.
Do it.
Like Shia LaBeouf says, just do it.
And I mean, that's just,
This is the kind of thing that just tickles my balls.
oh, I forgot. We totally have a Dale face.
Hey!
Forgot we have a Dale face. Every time Seth promotes the Facebook, the viewers are just like,
Don't care.
Yeah, that's the way I feel.
Where's
Don't
don't care.
oh, let's see. So one more here. I think the last one I saw was Henry Lemoyne. Let me see. What if Lance chose to run away when Daryl and Carol gave him the chance? Or what if he would have successfully shot them both? What would he do from here? I honestly just think he would have ran straight back to the Commonwealth and given Pamela some information and been like right beside her. I mean, apparently
That's
he just gets his goat.
He would find a whole new faction of people and make Lance-topia.
I think that if he would, I don't know if he'd have been foolish enough to try to attack them, but I definitely think he would have been like in the final fight against them. I definitely think he'd have just ran right back to Pamela and been like, Pamela, baby, I love you. I got some information for you.
I love you.
Pamela, no, I love you. Oh, but I think that is going to wrap up tonight's live Walking Dead What Ifs. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comments. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/thepodcastingdead. You get the Walking Dead retro reviews at least 24 hours. Sometimes it can be 48 hours. It depends on when we record it, but you always get it as soon as we record it over on Patreon. So you can get that days before the general public does. So make sure to check it out for that. JP does weekly Patreon casts with me. I'm really planning to have leather chairs and whiskey going into the new year. So lots of fun stuff over on Patreon. Plus, we're going to give away a t-shirt at the end of the month for one lucky patron. So go check that out. Also, don't forget our friends over at Movie Palette, moviepalette.com. They make all kinds of cool artwork like this one from your favorite movie. Mine happens to be Fight Club, and that's what this is. They take the film and take the color palettes and use it to make some really cool, unique artwork. So moviepalette.com, use podcast 15 and get 15% off. It's that easy. And don't forget, you can send your boys a super chat every now and again because this equipment ain't cheap. So
for $10, these gloves could be yours if you want to buy them from me.
But on that note,
function.
I'm just going to make Matt uncomfortable.
Ooh, your fingers are warm. And you can touch your phone too.
Justin is not amused.
Anyways,
Hey,
we'll
I
see
get a
you
plug too, if y'all get
hopefully next week, but we'll certainly let you know. Be on the lookout for the alert. In the meantime, I'm Justin.
Metadubs.
I'm Seth.
We're the Podcasting Dead. We'll catch you on the Flippy Floppy.
See ya.
Bye.